bienvenue à l'Union financier 2016. Avant de débuter, pouvez-vous confirmer que vous êtes l'équipe J? Parfait. Je vous rappelle que vous avez un maximum de 20 minutes pour présenter, suivi d'une période de 5 minutes de questions. J'afficherai le temps restant à l'aide de carton indicateur à 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 secondes. Et les 10 dernières secondes seront sur mes doigts. Je partirai le travail lorsque vous commencez. Vous pouvez débuter quand vous êtes prêt.
Bon après-midi, monsieur, madame les associés. Donc, d'abord et avant tout, je voudrais vous remercier d'être avec nous aujourd'hui et de nous avoir confié ce mandat de la compagnie VTL Limitée. Donc, mes collègues, Joyce, Stacy et moi-même, nous vous avons présenté l'analyse de la compagnie que vous nous avez demandé. Et donc, notre analyse se fera en anglais. Mais si, par contre, à la fin de la présentation, vous aurez des questions, que ce soit en français ou en anglais, il nous fera vraiment grand plaisir de vous répondre en n'importe quelle langue. So, for agenda, first of all, we'll walk you through our key analysis and executive summary. Then we'll pursue with the current situation of the company itself, just a few highlights. Then we'll walk you through the accounting policy of our choice. We'll pursue with the accounting issues that you ask us to tackle. Then we'll have also a few points about the operational inefficiencies that the company is currently experiencing. And we'll have afterwards a question and answers period. So for the executive summary, before jumping into our analysis, I would like you to know that we believe that the actual position of the company is less profitable than what it appears to be on the current financial statements. That essentially the shareholder is the sole shareholder, therefore he might be biased, and we believe that he might be engaging in earnings management, and after doing a few corrections, we feel the debt covenant appears to be actually violated. So on to the issues. First of all, we'll walk you through a few points of the audit mission, so we'll have to do that with a lot of caution, since that we believe that our client is involved in earnings management. Then the accounting policy of the choice is ASB. We'll walk you through a few of the accounting issues, starting by the warranty, where we would recommend to record a provision. We'll discuss the lawsuit that will have to disclose the notes as opposed to do any other type of treatments. We'll also touch on the development cost, which will have to be expensed, and we'll also discuss the commercial and residential contract, when the revenue of this contract will have to be recognized at the completion of the contract. And finally, we'll also discuss the government grant, which will have to be matched to the assets as opposed to be recognized as the revenue. So the current situation, just a few really main basic highlights. First of all, we understand the debt to equity ratio as well as the current ratio as very, very important to keep the loan in the company. So currently the debt to equity ratio is 1.8 to 1. Therefore, it meets the criteria because it's lower than the 2.1 required. For the current ratio is currently 1.53, and it meets the criteria because it is higher than 1.2 required. The accounting policy of the choice of the shareholder is ASB, and we will recommend eventually to keep it. So just a few concerns. Since it's an audit mission, it's our first client, we have never worked with him before. We have to be very careful when we approach him. So first of all, there's higher audit risk involved, definitely, because we've never worked with him in the past, and we have no past experience. In line with that, our materiality will have to be definitely higher, because we'll have to be very cautious with the types of management controls that he is using and that are currently in place. So our approach towards the audit mission is to, first of all, maybe contact the previous audit firm that was working on that engagement to be able to get some further understanding of how the business was audited previously. Then we would also like to do some more in-depth research about the industry as well as the internal control, which is highly linked with the materiality issue. And then we'll, for the asset testing themselves, we recommend to take a larger sample to be able to more accurately predict the actual situation. Now my colleague Stacy will pursue with the accounting policy recommendation.
So one of the concerns of our client was whether ASPE is better for the company or we should consider other accounting policies. So right now the policy is ASPE, and what we recommend is to continue with ASPE. And the main reason of that is basically simplicity. ASPE is easier to do, and our company, the company is a private company, so there is no use of going, and there is no intention of going public. So for now, ASPE is a good choice. Also, our investors are local, suppliers and also government were doing in the Kenyan market, and also our competitors is local, and this makes it easier for our financial statements to be compared to other companies in order to see whether we're more competitive or less competitive. And also, IFRS will be a bit more expensive than ASPE, and for these reasons, we recommend that we stay with ASPE. Then another accounting issue. Now we are going to the accounting issues, and the first one was the warranty for the storage tank water. So the issue here, main issue is that they have some liability expenses, but they did not make a provision for it at the beginning. So the right way was to incorporate the warranty expense when they were incurred, but there is more steps to do. So when we record a warranty, we have it can be embedded or extended. So embedded will be included in the price that the product will be paid, and extended is an extra warranty that the customer will have to pay. But in both cases, a provision will be required, and we did not have specific information about what the company is using. So we are recommending the revenue method. So for this method, we will have to have a provision recognized when the product is sold in order, because the company is offering warranty. So we have to recognize that there is a percentage of our customers that maybe need maintenance. So we have to recognize that in our financial statements for future liability. And then when a customer claims for the service that we offered, then there is an expense, and this will reduce the warranty liability that we already recorded at the beginning. So now there is an issue. Our client thinks that the future liability will be 50 more products which will be defective, but experts, the engineering is suggesting that there is about a 30% more products that will be defective. So as management is biased here, we prefer to take the engineering recommendation of a 30% and be more conservative in recording our warranty liability. So as a liability on our financial statement, it will be $150,000, and this will affect our ratio. Since liability is increasing, our debt to equity ratio will decrease, and our current ratio will decrease also. So now moving on to the lawsuit. There have been some people who, groups that have been pressuring the company and saying that our products are not as environmentally friendly that it can be. So this event occurred in January 2016. So this was after the year end of 2015. Therefore, we do not have to make an entry in order to record this potential liability, because it was made in a subsequent event. So the issue here is that it was not included, but it does not have to be included in the financial statement itself, because we don't have measurability and probability also for the 2016 financial statement for now. So what we recommend as a treatment is to make a full disclosure in the notes to let shareholders and investors know about this future liability that we might have, because the claim for the suit has been $2 million, but we need a lawyer to confirm that this is probable that they will win the case or not. So the effect of the financial statements, there is no effect since we are just putting in the note, so our ratio stays the same. Now moving on to the development costs. The company has been doing some research, and now we are on the development phase of the process. So ASPE allows to capitalize or to expense the the cost. So in order to be capitalizing these development costs, it has to meet 6 criteria, and which is not for now. That's why we're recommending to expense all the development costs for now. 2 main reasons for that is that we don't have enough funds to finalize. There's some issue about whether we can get the $100,000, and also the timing. There is no time frame that the engineer know whether we're going to finish the product or not. So the effect on the financial statement, as we are expensing these development costs, the profit and the equity will decrease, and also the non-current assets will decrease. Since, because we are taking this capitalization that the company has done out of the financial statement, and the effect on the ratio, it will increase the debt to equity, but the current ratio won't be affected since it's a long-term asset. Now I will pass on to my colleague Drishti to talk about the commercial and residential contract.
Okay, so one of the major issues with the commercial and residential contracts we felt was how the company recognized the revenue. So this is the simple supply chain which relates to this contract. So the supplier, basically the issues with the supplier are that the supplier is having financial difficulties with its own business, and we feel that this would result in an inability to supply the raw materials to the company. This really gives rise to major future risks for the firm. The second is the company itself, VTL. They had enough raw materials in 2015 to conduct the business. However, they feel that the risks might be carried forward and the supplier might not be able to provide the raw materials in the coming years. The contractor, has all the external risks are related to the inability to provide the final product to the contractor, and there is a huge penalty in an inability to provide the product to the contractor. Now we look about the alternatives, and particularly we break down this contract into 3 parts. The first part is the delivery of the product. The second part is the installation of the product, which approximately will take up to 2 years, with the maintenance of 2 years. The post-purchase service is extended to 2 years, as you can see. Therefore, we recommend 2 alternatives here. The first one, which we suggest, would be that the delivery, the installation, and the maintenance, which is the entire price of the contract, is recognized once all the services are provided for. In this case, however, we would book a warranty expense when the revenue is recognized, since the maintenance is kind of extended for 2 years. The second alternative we would suggest would be that we broke down these into different prospects of the contract. So we suggest that the delivery revenue related to the delivery of the product is recognized when the product is delivered, and then subsequently when the installation services are provided for, the revenue is recognized for that. And as usual, the maintenance provision will be booked. In this case, the price for the contract was $1.7 million. We thus recommend the first option, seeing the financial condition of the company and the external risk related to the supplier. We feel that it would be more conservative to take the first option, that is to recognize the entire contract revenue as unearned revenue in 2015, and recognizing the revenue when all these criteria are met, whereas delivery has been done, the installation has been done, and then a maintenance provision will be recorded. So this is the effect on financial statements. We see that the profit decreases by $750,000, as in the current year in the unaudited financial statements, $750,000 of revenue is recognized. So we feel that the revenue would decrease by $750,000, which would thereby decrease the retained earnings, and thus it decreases the equity. We also felt that the liability would increase by $750,000. $950,000 of the $1.7 million of the total price of the contract, $950,000 was already recorded as an unearned revenue, which is a liability. However, $750,000 was recorded as a revenue, which we are thus suggesting should be recognized in 2015 as an unearned revenue, which is a liability. Thus, it increases the liability by $750,000. the aggregate effect on the covenants leads us to the debt to equity ratio would increase. It would increase drastically as both would have a major effect, the increase in the decrease in the equity and the increase in the liability. In this case, the current ratio would remain the same. Now, my colleague Jenny is going to talk about the government grants.
Alright, so now about the treatment of the government grant. I would just like to ask you to pay attention to the timeline. So what we did is that we've put all the major events of the timeline so you could just really understand what is happening behind that grant. So prospectively, in past years, from 2014 to 2015, this company started a new project, the solar system, and the government made a promise of a grant. That promise of a grant of a government, we can assume that it's very probable to be collected because it's from the government and not any other type of outside source. Now, in the current year, from 2015 up until 2016, what happened is that the client recognized that grant as a revenue, but at the same time, he took all the costs and he capitalized them on their books. And going forward from this period to 2016, we're faced with a bit of a dilemma. So our client is telling us that he will be able to meet the condition that the product is going to be able to go out on the market, and therefore the grant will have 100% probability of being received. Definitely, we're skeptics. Since the grant is only conditional on whether the project is completed and marketable or not, then we'll just take a safer approach. So now we'll walk you through two different alternatives that you might take. The first one would be matching to the expenses, but there is no actual expenses in this year besides the depreciation of the development. And then the second option would be matching to the assets, and that's the one we have preferred in that situation. For example, what happens is that this grant will decrease the value of the assets, and going forward, the profits would be increased through a lower depreciation expense. So here in mind, with the principle of economic reality and conservatism, we would like to recommend to match that grant to the asset. And as a result, because we're removing this grant from the current revenue, it will decrease the revenues as well as increase the debt to equity ratio, because the equity will in consequence go down, but there would be no difference in the current revenue. So now my colleague Jersey will walk you through a few operational efficiencies that we have spotted in the firm.
Okay, apart from the accounting issues in this case, we felt that there was a huge issue, or really, which raised a red flag for us, was the operational inefficiency of the company moving forward. Just one of the issues majorly which did strike us was that the 30% warranty liability, which was suggested by the engineer, does raise a big question, because if 30% is recorded as a warranty liability, that it makes no sense to continue that product, since so much of it has to be expensed later on as part of the revenue. This was related to the water tank heating system. Then we felt that the financial difficulty of supplier would lead, if in case the inability of the supplier to provide us with the raw materials, would lead to a large penalty, which thereby does decrease our profit by a huge amount. There is a concern for bankruptcy moving forward, seeing the profitability condition of the company. Even if we see that the debt is restructured in this case, it is the only debt, and moving forward, it would become really difficult for the company to raise capital in the market, seeing the profitability condition. There has been a big violation of the covenants, and there would be a huge cost if the company continues to do like this. To just sum it up, the key takeaways we would like you to go away with here is, first of all, the analysis. The company is definitely less profitable as compared to what it shows on the unaudited statements, which is a major concern of earnings management, which thereby shows us that because there is only one shareholder, there is definitely shareholder bias. Also, violation of bank covenants, which is a huge cost moving forward, and no further expansion prospects. Here, the audit mission, we feel that the risks and the external factors have to be analyzed, since for us to do the audit is the first time, and it is very risky. The accounting policy, we suggest ASPE, which you're currently using. Then the accounting issues are, as we specified in every case, have to be dealt with. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think you went through, well, you detailed the ratios when you begin speaking, but I don't think you really came back on them and the impact of, well, whether they were respected or not, and what are the consequences of that?
Okay, for the ratios, we felt that the debt to equity ratio was majorly one of the big covenants that the company didn't meet. We see that seeing the transactions, how they've been dealt with, we feel that the only shareholder was definitely trying to do some earnings management by reducing the liabilities and by increasing the equity in some cases, and by increasing the profit when it shouldn't have been. So we definitely feel that would definitely, if seeing the condition of the company, we don't feel that the future cash flows would be enough to meet the short-term needs of the company. And seeing that that's the only debt the company has, we feel that the company is mainly based on research and development of new technologies. We feel that the profitability prospects are definitely alarming. The low profit, then not enough capital in the future.
Okay. What are the consequences on the financial statement of all of your statements?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so would you like to know the consequences of the debt to earnings ratio within the financial position of the company?
Let's assume the covenants are not met.
Okay, okay, understood. Okay, so for example, if the covenants are not met, there's a few steps that you can actually take, well, the client could actually take. The first with them would probably go and call the bank, try to renegotiate with the bank. It depends of what type of covenants there is, so maybe try to pin down some other type of assets that the bank might be willing to accept as a collateral. So that's like the type of negotiation you can have with your bank. Maybe do a few forward-looking cash flow analysis and say, hey, we're not profitable now, but we have this brand coming up. We have future sales that are expected to increase because of all of this research and development we're doing. So that's the type of negotiation you can do. And then if the bank refuses, then that would probably be a bigger issue. Then you'll have to go through either private equity, or then there would be some restructuring bankruptcy issues that we're not very keen to talk about.
In relation with that, you mentioned the concern for bankruptcy, so maybe issues in the going concern of the company. How would that affect the financial statements in our auditor's report?
First of all, definitely it's a huge risk, which has to be seen by the auditors. And seeing that there would be bankruptcy in the future, seeing the prospects, we feel that definitely they will have to, seeing that there are no other debts, and this is the major debt, they will have to sell their assets, or and we feel that the first one we would recommend is to negotiate with the bank for restructuring, because we feel like maybe we could restructure on part of ratios, maybe the covenant could change the ratios or increase the principal amount of decrease the principal amount of the debt. But definitely the company does have enough assets to be given, I mean, if the bankruptcy occurs, the assets will be sold, and the future cash flows will be affected thus for sure.
Now,
because
if we talk about the audit report, I guess we'll have a big switch from a company that goes concern as opposed to a company that doesn't go concern. So you'll definitely have to approach audit mission differently, as opposed to issuing maybe a qualified and qualified audit statement at the end of the year. It will be a different procedure, and maybe we could ask some of tax team to team up on us and help us with the bankruptcy or restructuring.
All right. If we look at note 1 of the financial statement relating to the different costs that were actually capitalized in financial statements, there was raw material, wages, general expense, depreciation, interest. If we say that we capitalize the cost, all these costs will be capitalized, or what's your thing on that?
No, all these costs won't be capitalized. Some costs like wages and stuff, they need to be expensed because they are generally like operating costs and they're not related particularly to the asset. So definitely they will be expensed, which we do feel is an issue, whether they're not, because they were trying to decrease the expenses so that the profitability would be better. They decided to capitalize the cost. Thus, in the part of auditing, we would definitely put a concern on which costs are capitalized and which are not, because costs like wages have to be expensed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Better touch. But that door, it never shuts. Even when we chilled, I never said that much.